You and your competitors are trying to get the same customers. And if you want to win against them, you don't need a bigger budget. You just need better ads. Maybe you are trying to increase your budget and you see that your ROAS continue to decrease and your competitors continue to scale and take more and more of your market. The truth is that probably your competitor ads are just better. So in this video, I'll show you how you can outsmart them, understand what's their strategy, and create ads that outperform their own. And it doesn't matter your budget. Even if you have a smaller budget, you can create better ads and scale and get a bigger part of the market. So by the end of the video, you know how to identify your competitors, analyze their Facebook ad strategies, and use their own tactics to find winning ads. This is the same process that we use in our agency to find winning ads and scale our clients. I will also use examples from big e-com brands like ROAS, and I'll give you this Notion doc that you can take in the description, where you can note down all the findings and you have the whole process to create these winning ads. So we'll go through how to identify competitors, analyze their creative strategy, a lot of quick wins that you can implement already if you don't have a creative team already in place, and how you can position to exploit your competitor gaps. First, you want to identify your competitors. There are direct and indirect competitors. Direct competitors basically sell a very similar product and they solve a very similar problem. So let's say, for example, Canon and Dr. Squatch. Then you have indirect competitors. So they are brands that solve the same problems, but in a different way. So for example, if I sell meal prep kits, and indirect competitors could be buying groceries, ordering takeout. So you have a lot of indirect competitors, a lot of different solutions to the same problem that you're solving. So here is how to find both types of competitors. For direct competitors, you can just search on Google with keywords that are related to your product, and you can just note down all the competitors for later. For example, I search on Google the exact product name. So in this case, we have a client that sells yak shoes, and so we can search that on Google and we're going to find several competitors. You can search on a lot of different platforms like YouTube, Reddit, on Patreon, GPT, like there are a lot of platforms where you can search. I would recommend to search on all of them. Something that is very interesting is searching on Reddit and understanding direct competitors and also indirect competitors, and also how people think about your product and solving their problem. And for indirect competitors, you basically want to get in the mind of your customers and understanding what are their questions, like what are they are trying to understand to solve their problem, and how you can understand them better, making sure that they can watch your ad and say, okay, this is the best solution. Now I get why the other solution is not the best for me, and this product is what I need to buy to solve this problem. And something that we use a lot is TikTok. So you can search on TikTok something. For example, if I said something for dogs, I can also search something like, how can I entertain my dog at home? So there are a lot of different search queries that I can use that are connected to your product and are very good to understand how can I market this product and understanding the indirect competitors that your product has. And you're going to find a lot of different type of products that people could buy instead of your own. Then the other thing you want to find and we want to look at is analyzing your competitors. So now you found several competitors and you want to see what's their strategy. So first of all, you want to see how many ads they have. And like a good competitor normally will have high volume of ads. If you see ROAS, you already know it's working for them because they have 1,900 ads. So it means they're investing on this and this, a scalable channel for sure. Then you want to see like the ads they do, what type of formats they use, what are the main type of ads that they focus on. On HRI, you can also see number of video ads and statics. Even though sometimes you may have a lot of statics because they are faster to create, that doesn't mean they are more scalable. Oftentimes you scale more with videos. You also want to look at landing pages and see what type of landing page they use, because maybe they use a lot of advertorials, listicles, and that means that probably the awareness levels of the people they are targeting are more closer to unaware or problem aware, so they need more education. And so that education can be done on the ad level or on the landing page. And also that will allow you to understand if they have some specific main angles they are targeting, or maybe they have different type of ads, and depending on the angle they are targeting, they also have a different landing page, maybe an advertorial or listicle, and they have even a different product page. That means they are probably trying to expand by targeting different personas and different angles. And that will also be very interesting, because you can also understand, okay, maybe this angle or this buyer persona, they are stronger because of some differences in the product too. But on the other angle, my product is better. So I can try to win against them on this angle. Very simple example with tactics, it's easier to understand this, but then you want to apply also this on videos. So let's take ROAS, and you see, okay, they have several statics and they have different formats, but the headline is always the same. So basically this headline is working for them. For videos, it's a very similar analysis. For example, with ROAS for videos, we can see that they target a lot of different pain points. And what you'll notice is that sometimes they'll double down on specific angles. For example, in September, this example is from last year, in September 2024, and they started to upload more and more ads around sleep. So if you see that this is something they are doubling down on, you want definitely to keep that in mind and try some concepts on that angle if that works for your product. Because everything they are doubling down on and they continue to test and iterate, it means it's working for them. So you want to annotate all of these in Notion in the doc that you can find in the description. So now we have an overview, and we want to understand what are some of the best ads and just focus on those ones and how we can replicate them and even improve them for your brand. So we want to look at longest running ads, because that's something that allows you to understand they could work. It doesn't mean they are the best ads, but it's for sure an indicator. The other thing you want to watch is the newest ads they are testing. So you can note down the similarities mainly between the longest running ads and the newest ads. Because the new ads will be two main things. Will be one, doubling down on what works. The other thing is testing something new. So if you see that they have something from a year ago or 2 years ago that's still active, and they also have new ads that are very similar, that means they are working for them. So you can focus more on those. And then the other ones that are very different from what they tested before, it's probably some hypotheses. They are saying, I want to test this. So you can also try to understand why are they testing this. Maybe because this angle works, they were trying a new format, or maybe this angle didn't work. You want to try to understand what are the hypotheses for this testing. But mainly, if you're doing 100K a month or less, you definitely want to focus on what already works for them, and just try to differentiate a little bit for your product. While if you're already scaling a lot, then you can also try to focus more on what they are testing, if that's something that can be applied to your brand. At the same time, if you are a bigger brand, it also makes sense to innovate and focus more on what you can find on organic, on social media, instead of just copying from competitors. So I'll show you a quick way that you can analyze statics and videos. So for videos, you can transcribe the script of the video in Atria, and then you can also analyze all the selling blocks they're using. And I have another guide also on the selling blocks and script writing, so you can also ask that to me on X, and I can send it to you. But mainly you want to understand the selling blocks they use, like how the script is structured, and then you can basically repurpose it for your brand. And for statics, you just want to mainly note down the headline and the format, and understand why they are using them. And another thing you can do is giving the static to ChatGPT and ask to analyze it. Obviously, you have sometimes to help it a little bit. Once you do it a few times, also ChatGPT, or ideally the project you created, ChatGPT knows better what you want. For videos, now you can also do that. So you can upload a video to Gemini, and you can do it with your videos, with competitor videos, and Gemini is able to understand the video and also give you an analysis. So in general, when you find a pattern that works in their ads, you just want to take that and apply it to your brand. Then there are some quick wins that you can apply, especially if you're a smaller brand. One thing you can do is taking just an ad that you like from competitor and ask a designer to replicate the format and create it exactly the same, and you just test. You can test similar headlines, you can test new headlines, but you already have something proven. Obviously, statics normally are less scalable, but they are very fast to create. So if you have limited resources, that's something you can do, and the process, it shouldn't take much time, and it can be based mainly on what works for competitors. You don't want to innovate too much on statics. You want to mainly have a process there, test several of them and see if you find some winning ones, and then focus on videos at the same time. Another thing you can do is you can take some of the best brands that you have as inspiration and then replicate the format, as in this example where basically we took this format from Mudwater and we replicated it for our client, and that's also a very effective way to test something new. There are also a lot of templates you can find from different sources and apply them to your brand. Then another thing you can do is you can take the transcript that we transcribed in Atria, and you can use it to create a lot of different scripts. So you can use just ChatGPT, but I would recommend to use either a custom GPT like this one that someone on Twitter shared actually, or you can just create a custom GPT. So we normally use custom GPTs, or the other option is to use Poppy AI to create them to repurpose existing transcripts for your brand. You normally want to give that example and add some brand knowledge in the to GPT, so it can customize that and create a lot of variations. Then the other option is also in nature. Directly you can transcribe it and also create a new script. So that's also a good option to test something fast. Here is an example of a quick win that we had with a client, and this was actually 2 years ago now. And we just took some ads that were working very well from PetLab.co because we knew that they were spending more than 1 million a month in ads on Meta. And we basically took an ad and we repurposed it for our client, and it had this client to scale from 40K to 300K a month. Now, this is getting much more complicated. It was a bit easier before. It's not always that you take a winning ad and it works for you. A lot of times you want, like, it can work when it's a different market, but you normally want to customize things a little bit more. If you are trying to scale, if you're doing less than 100K a month, I would definitely try to do that. And at the same time, if they don't work, try to understand what can I change to make these ads work. Obviously, as you scale, then we start to do a few different things to make sure that you are differentiating from your competitors and you are innovating more, and it's them copying you instead of you copying them. But at the beginning, you want to go with something a bit more validated. Then the other thing is that you can focus on, and especially when you want to scale more and more and become the biggest in your industry, is trying to differentiate your product, having some unique mechanism and stand out in a saturated market. You mainly want to list out your product features and your main strength against your competitors and understand where your product is stronger. Then you want to add these strengths in your ads and creatives, and especially if the product is a product that solves a problem, then you want to explain why the other solutions were not able to solve that problem for your potential customers and how your product is different, and the unique mechanism that your product uses to solve that problem. For example, we have a client, but it's not like super doesn't really solve a big problem because it's easier when you solve a huge problem for your customers. But in this case, we just try to understand, okay, what are the main differences compared to competitors? And it was mainly that was healthier alternative to rawhide or to other products to entertain your dog. And also the products were very, very similar. They only had one flavor while we had multiple flavors. Then there are other indirect competitors that were basically not that safe for dogs. So that's the main thing we used as a positioning. A good example is Mudwater. Obviously now there are a lot of brands that position in a similar way, but they took the market by basically giving the same benefits of a coffee, but without the side effects. And here is a positioning table that you can use to see how you compare with your competitors and what are your main strengths. And you can see it in this document that you can find in the description. So you have all of these, you have all the links, and you can use that for your brand. So with this, you have everything that you need to find a lot of winning ads and just start with something tested. And you want to start with this, add more volume if you are below 100K a month. And then once you scale, then you want to also add a bit more creative diversity, more variety, and I have more videos that are a bit more advanced that help you to take some winning ads, some winning angles you have, and scale to try to really get to 1 million a month and get a biggest part of the market. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I can do another video to cover this.